This is the fastest it's gone all weekend.
Welcome to Radical Underdogs, and we welcome back to Silverstone for race 2 of the BRSCC Mazda MX-5 Clubman Championship. Quite a good race one, from 20th on the grid to 12th, and that is where we start this second race. We're alongside one to Del Pace, and another poor start for Pete Smith in car number 17. He's dropping back through the field. We're going to go all the way around the outside of the first corner. Safest place to be at Silverstone with the start, with all that runoff and tarmac runoff on the outside. It means it's very unlikely to get a bit pushed into a wall or anything like some other circuits. Down on the outside, down into Village as well. Cars stacking up on the inside. It's obviously technically faster, but can actually slow down with all the cars trying the same thing. Now coming up, do pay attention to the audio track. Now listen carefully. Did you hear it? I'm going to replay it, just 1 second. There you go. One more time. That hiss is the fuel return pipe letting go entirely, and I'm going to come back as to why that happened for a later video. But at this moment in time, there is fuel streaming out of the fuel return pipe straight into the engine bay. I have absolutely no idea this is happening. If you do catch a glimpse of the fuel gauge, you'll see it dropping a bit like a stone. So right now I've just lost a place to Christian Dan, who's just gone through on the inside. We're going to go all the way back round on the outside. I don't think we're going to make that down into the last couple of corners. He's got the inside line as he goes through Vale and Club, and you got Russell Halley as well, who's trying to take advantage of this situation. He's right behind us now, and actually Christian Dan, he's obviously done the same thing maybe as Matt Crozier did. Maybe he's snatched a gear, but he's very, very slow out of the last corner, having to take avoiding action and around the outside and regaining 12th position. Russell's also trying to, he's not quite made it alongside. You can see that I'm not quite understanding what's going on here. You can hear their wheel spin around farm, which is normally flat out in the MX-5. And what is actually happening is that fuel is coming out of the engine bay and ending up on the rear tyres. And that is what is causing a lot of these handling issues. I have absolutely no idea. I've made a couple of setup changes over the weekend. In my head, that's what I'm blaming it on. But obviously, in retrospect, that is what's going on. I'm telling Christian to just get a move on, because I can see there's two fast drivers behind me. We've got Russell Halley and Robert Greensmith, who are both fighting each other down the back of the hangar straight, but they are likely to come behind us if we start fighting for position here. And actually, what I really want is a top 10, knowing that I've lost one or two positions. Well, I've lost one position, but obviously you never know in the MX-5 races how you're doing. But I definitely feel like I've lost a bit of time, so it's important to get on with this. And you can see the handling, especially where you've got these tight left and right handers. The fuel return pipe is streaming out of the right hand of the car, which means when you're leaning on those tyres, it's going to be particularly slippery. And we can see we're side by side, down start finish straight, with Russell Halley alongside us. He's going to back out slightly into the first corner, but he's going to regain that speed as he goes around the outside of farm, because that's going to be the inside of Village. It's really important not to go too wide on the outside. He's actually knocked the wing mirror closed, so now I can no longer see Rob Greensmith also coming through. I've got absolutely zero visibility out of that wing mirror now. It's knocked in, but you can't see that on the video, but that is what's happened. And you can see the car is struggling a bit, and I'm just not quite sure why. It's just an odd position to be in. I've never had fuel flow issues like that before, although the fuel obviously is getting to the engine absolutely fine. That's Simon Privet with a problem, so he's actually getting lapped, so that doesn't bring us to this. There's 3 wide behind us, going down the hangar straight and into Stowe. Rob Greensmith's braking, and we're going to try and keep with him, because actually look at the number of cars behind us. Don't want to fall into those clutches, because if we start fighting, then the top 10 is definitely not in the cars. To be honest, we're quite a long way behind now, with 15th position. And of course, with that fuel streaming out, I don't know it, but I'm definitely not. You can see I'm really struggling out of those low speed corners, particularly on the left-handers, because that's where the fuel contamination is worst. And I don't know it yet, but I'm definitely not making the end of this race, of course, with fuel streaming out of that fuel return pipe. Skipping forward a bit, and we've got number 63, and that is Thomas Greenwood, who is going to go from a long way back down into. It's very tempting to do that, but realistically, unless you stick it on the apex, it's very hard to avoid that cutback manoeuvre that I just did there. So good on him for trying, but didn't make it through that time. Through the link section, and actually making it through not too badly this time. It's a right-hander, so relying on the left-hand side of the car, which is less fuel contaminated. I say to Rob, if you can see in the mirror, let's just go together down this straight. You can see I've broken away from the two behind me, and it's really important that we stay in touch with that group ahead. You can see they're going around the Stowe corner right now. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is 10th position, so we can still catch up with that 10th. If they start fighting, which they are, you can see them going side by side into Vale and Club. So if we just need to work together, we can catch up with that group. It's totally doable. You can see the fuel contamination is just getting worse and worse, and just turning into that corner was, well, you saw what happened. It was, and you can see going out onto the rumble strips. I came in at the end of this race thinking that this was a setup change problem, but obviously looking back through it, it's all left-hander corners that are the real problem, and that is exactly where the fuel contamination is going to be worst. Still got fuel streaming out of the engine bay onto the hot engine intake area, potentially coming into contact with brakes. It is a particularly dangerous situation. You can see now I'm running out of fuel. There I thought I'd just obviously missed a gear, so I'm cursing myself for missing that gear, but it's not a missing gear. We're running out of fuel. Engine is dying on me now. There's no fuel. I put my hand up, I've realised what's going on, but I'm trying to work out what's going on, because obviously now in the straight line we've got power and we're going forward, so not quite sure what's going on. I'm thinking maybe electrical issues. I'm looking around, see if there's anything obvious going wrong with the car. I'm starting to I've smelled fuel on and off this whole race actually, so I was looking to see whether or not actually the fuel tank cap was off or something like that. I'd left it off, but no, I still don't know what the problem is, but the engine is now completely dead. I'm getting zero power. I'm pumping the accelerator pedal and nothing is happening. And when I go into neutral, the engine just shuts off entirely. You can see I'm pumping the accelerator pedal there. Nothing is happening. This is race over. We're out of fuel. But the great thing is we're not on fire. That was the key worry, especially after the investigation into what went wrong here. Fire was my key thing I was worried about afterwards in retrospect, and there actually wasn't any fire, which is remarkable really, given he's poured 10 litres of fuel out into the engine bay. I will go into another video why this happened, but in a nutshell, we were supplied with the wrong hose, and it wasn't compatible with fuel. We were supplied with a hose which we bought. It was a fuel injection hose, and it wasn't. It was a vacuum hose or something similar. So it did eventually burst, even if it's not under pressure. But thank you very much to the AB team. I'm not being supported by AB this weekend, but that's where the engine came from, and they did see me come into the pits and came over straight away to have a look. So thank you very much to everyone who saw what has happened, came over and quickly diagnosed the issue that, well, there's fuel that's been pouring out into the engine bay and there's no fuel return pipe anymore. But anyway, thank you very much for watching, and catch you again in the next one.
This is the fastest it's gone all weekend.